The Crucible, wrote by Arthur Miller, and the critical book Civil Disobedience, wrote by Henry David Thoreau, both reveals the same globe issue in their context, which is the traditional government has lost their purpose on bringing justice, but turned into a symbol of power and oppress people under its authority, which makes society fulfilled with injustice and the social conflict by depriving human individuality while unable to protect human morality. This idea has reflected by the death of Proctor in Miller's play and also indicated by Thoreau's criticism towards the American government at the modern time. In Thoreau's work, the book Civil Disobedience, at the beginning from his context, Thoreau interpreted his idea by using the quotes from page 275. Over here, Thoreau used paradox to establish the idea of the issue. The paradox here illustrates the idea showing that the government that seems to work hard and pay effort didn't mean that it is a good government. It helps to extend people's suspect to a central question. Is the government trying to make the real justice when it's overextend its authority and control? Thus, that paradox creates a sense of government was actually limited things instead of manage them, which literally reveals a mistake under all types of government in their principle and showing the government wasn't respect to people's individualism or freedom. The message expressed by Thoreau's true personal belief on government implies that society the social authority has changed as a central power since the over-restriction it created in society, and reflects that the government already forget its duty for protect human rights and justice, thereby the lack of its intervening even turned into a oppression. The essence of the legal authority transformed to a limitation that constrain people, so it eventually engender a positive idea among the public as Thoreau's belief since the government wants to self-expansion. Hence, it would result in social conflict between people and the authority. Criticism about the government in the next paragraph, which is the statement in page 275 to 276. The metaphor used at the beginning compared the government with the wooden gun, which vividly creates a symbol that indicates the government already becomes the weapon and threaten to people that utilize by authority as their blade, which reveals that the government is a symbolized power right now. Connect this to the global issue. Government already loses deserved justice because it is the tool that is used to against each other instead of letting itself operated independently and justly. It is not stay impartial and neutral anymore. Thereby it will result in one set of people get oppressed and treated unequally once there has a conflict between groups. Moreover, another metaphor using the next line that compares government with a necessary machine directly point out the message that government is an unconscious organization right now as a machine, so that the idea is fit to the first metaphor about government lose its justice and becomes a utilizable object. Another message has revealed in the sentence to satisfy that idea of government which they have, which shows people already lose their conscience under an unjust government because they only want to achieve the concept and standard of the government instead of think other diversity in their life. Therefore, people totally lose their individuality under that condition. According to the last sentence in the passage, people also lose their morality since they only look forward for themselves. The sympathies and the fellowship will thus break up. Fourth paragraph, which he mentioned in page 277 in the left side. Thoreau articulates the message that shows how people corrupted under the control of the government. He used a paradox here to create a contradictory fact which the way government organizes society and the design regulation from them only makes the world more unjust. The morality also get weakened since all good people would turn into an agent of injustice. The fact reveals people neither gradually lose their individuality because they are subjectively conscious obviously merged in that kind of society. Then, Thoreau was criticized the American military soldier, which he makes the key question at the right side. He has asked a question about the individuality of people under the control of authoritarian government by using both rhetorical question and concrete diction. The rhetorical question helps express the question to people's value under the government and create a statement which denies the human nature within those one who live under that kind of government, and emphasize the powerless and failure of a government that is training out people who couldn't be called as a man, which showing people lose their individuality as they are not a conscious and unrestrained individual anymore. Cyril also shows his distrust and doubt towards the result from the government by using rhetorical question here by gives the question of those people who blindly obey the government. Not only that, the diction following by that using the subject of a small multiple fort and magazines to further describe how those people looks like. It associates those men with warfare scenes to showing people completely lose their morality since they were only the tools used by the government and purpose in conflict. The diction enhanced the idea from Cyril that people becomes unconscious armament controlled by the authority to help them achieve any kind of purpose. Thus, the consequence is that those people lose their personal value of existence and basic morality since they delivered all their rights and freedom to others. Eventually, the unscrupulous authority can manipulate those people based on its willing, so there will be no more justice exist in world. Arthur Miller's play The Crucible also expressed the oppression from the traditional government which exploits human freedom and individuality. According to the statements in page 7, Miller used an allusion here that reflects back to the witch hunt movement happened in early US. The action appeared among the public and utilized by the authorities as a pretense for their persecution. This allusion helped enhance the idea that government oppressed people and create social conflict by using the witch hunt movement as a reference to show how government didn't prevent social conflict but even encourage it indirectly among people. That allusion gives a reflection of how government failed to bring justice to society due to its inaction, because it keeps allowing people persecuting each other during that events, which is both letting people continue accuse the innocents and the non-interference of the corruption in human morality, solidarity, and social justice. Connect this to Cyril's idea: the government should govern in the least since it gives too much limitation to society for ensure its long-standing. Moreover, people lose their morality due to the inaction of the government when there is conflict happening in society, and the government doesn't recertify the corruption in human nature. They all eventually indicate to the same global issue, which the government already oppressed people by its restrictions that encroach on human freedom and eliminate justice in society by numbing people to blindly approach its own standard. Meanwhile, it also not prevent anything when that action results in social conflict and corruption in morality. At last, in The Crucible, Miller also illustrates the consequence from the oppression of an authoritative government. According to the first scene, Miller wrote another statement in page 34. The word choice of Red Hill is the special term which represents the enemies during the Cold War communists. The reason why Miller used it here is to compare the situation in his play to the real world. Give a reference shows how that kind of conflict in his play really exists before. Then it expressed the message that people were facing an oppression by the authority, which people can't raise in anything that opposed to the government, otherwise they will just become enemies in society without an impartial verdict. Miller expressed this oppression by combining the Red Scare and religious aspect in order to illustrate the idea that government makes it standing as an absolute power like God. It just assigns accusation to its people without any rightful reason. Therefore, the justice in society eliminated by that action. The government will eradicate public thoughts and opinions, so it ignores people's individuality as well. Besides that, Miller directly points out another result which the society fulfilled with plots and counterplots, which represent the conflict among public under that kind of government. Reflect this idea to what Cyril expressed. A traditional government takes away people's rights and decides their position in society, thereby also takes away the basic justice. It is the oppression to public due to its obligatory authority. Finally, Miller also points out the result of that is another kind of conflict in society, which will deprive human morality since people keep intrigue each other, which is the issue about the traditional government lead to corruption, inhumanity, and social justice.